it's a different sort of particular coin. So I'm curious, Quantum, what was your actual mental, I know you didn't write it down, but what were you mentally thinking at the time in regards to SHIB? Because I think what you saw will be really insightful for what people are going to see, you know, and use to analyze in this bull run.
Well, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, the Ethereum community has always been like a meme-y, so to speak, and they've been nerdy with all due respect. And I'm not, you know, I'm not trying to insult anyone, but like Ethereum at that point in time was on its way to break all-time highs. And I was already thinking about the house money effect before you mentioned it. I didn't put the word on it. I didn't know what the word was, but I was thinking about the fact that the chain is flourishing and you're going to get that money to come onto the chain and start speculating. And so that it was essentially as simple as that. You know, Doge to me was to Bitcoin as something was to Ethereum, and I didn't know it at the time. When I saw Shiba Inu, out of the 10 others that I was looking at, I sifted through like the top 200 coins and came up with 10. And then from that 10, as weeks went on, I came down to 2, just Hex and Shiba Inu. And I was looking at the market cap, and I think at the time it was like 10 or 20 mil. And when I noticed that we got that massive volume spike, because like the early stories most people don't know about SHIB is that it was essentially like a rug pulled. It was rug pulled, and then it was like a secret community takeover, whatever. And then you had these anonymous figures come into play that were like, I think his name was, I forgot his name, but there was a main character behind Shiba Inu who was like a renowned dev. But essentially, when I saw that volume spike of 5 to 10 mil that just came in, and like Shiba Inu went from like no liquidity, no volume to like randomly we had this spike and it went 200x. It like went up to like 100 mil market cap and then trended back down to like 15 or 20 mil. And that's when I knew that something was happening here. Because like the volume and the way that price was behaving was unlike anything else I was looking at across the board. And I thought to myself that someone large was getting involved and they knew something. And that this could be a like ground up not protocol, but a ground up coin where you're seeing the very, very early stages of it. Like think about what Doge would have looked like day one, week one. And so when I saw the market cap and I saw it was Shiba Inu, it made sense that like this, out of all the other garbage that was on Uniswap, this made the most sense that like this probably has the highest output because of the way price was behaving, because of the market cap. And at the time, I think I was like, I was running the numbers and looking at what it would be like if it was like a 10th of Doge market cap. And the numbers I came up with was like, okay, if I buy 2% of the supply, it would be like around $10 to $20 million. It was something along that math. Like, again, it's been 8 years, 7 years now. God, I can't believe it's been that long. It's not been 7, 8 years. It's been 4 years. 4 years. Yeah, it's been 4 years. I was thinking 2017. It's been such a long time, but about 2% of the supply, I consolidated equity into it. And to me, the thesis completion was listing on Binance, listing on Coinbase. Now, the crazy thing about that is even when it got listed on Coinbase, at that point, I was like, it would have been 50 mil profit. It went down and went into a base and then went 10x again. Like it consolidated into some accumulation, and then it went 10x again. And that was the end of the cycle. And I remember sitting there, Bitcoin was like 68, 69K. And I was thinking this is probably going to be the largest mistake of my life. And it all came from the fact that I couldn't see it through. And yeah, that's the reality. You know, one of the other mistakes I'd say is that when I exited Shiba Inu, I didn't get back in because I couldn't buy 2% of the supply anymore. I can't tell you how stupid that was. I was like egotistical about the fact that I couldn't own 2% of the supply anymore, so I didn't want it at all anymore. How crazy is that? But like, it's these small mental like defects that can cause the difference between millions and tens of millions. So psychology is such an important part of this. So like, in regards to my thesis, I mean, you nailed it at that time. And once that took off, we had these replicas. We had like Akita Inu, we had Ashika Inu, or what, I don't remember all these names, but we had all these other replicas that took off too. They went 200x, 300x. I remember we ended up making like $500,000 on some of these other ones, but like at that point, man, it's monopoly money. You're talking 500 mil versus 500K. It just was a completely different story. So, my thesis was not as grounded as your thesis is for Toshi. And one of the reasons why I seek to learn from you is because if I had that model, if I had the mental model the way that you do for Toshi, for Shiba Inu, without a doubt, I would have cleared 100 mil. without a doubt. But I was all over the place, man. I was all over the place, and there wasn't a discipline involved in my structure to what I was doing. So it was like a bunch of ideas were floating in the sky that were great ideas, but I couldn't tangibly grab them and pull them into reality. Like that gap is closed through structural discipline to your thesis. Like that gap of having that fantastic idea and then pulling it into reality without the discipline to bring that to you, and without a strong thesis that's actually like right in front of you, you're not going to have what it takes, man. You're going to see $1 million in a dog coin, you're going to say, screw it, I'm out. You're going to see 2 million in a dog coin, you're going to say, screw it, I'm out. Like, unless you are de facto inside intelligence and you know what the hell is happening, and you didn't hear it from me, but you're on one of these exchanges that are potentially creating this coin, pumping it. You know, maybe there's some inside job and you have a data advantage over everybody else. Maybe you're going to hold it to 1000x because you have a data advantage. You have inside information, but if you don't have inside information, you got to stand on something, man. Otherwise, like, even if the position is going up, you're gonna sell at $1 million, you're gonna sell at 2 million, you're gonna sell at 5 mil. But at the same time, I would like to say this, that like the market is the temple of regrets. You're always gonna have a coulda, shoulda, woulda, but you want to minimize those regrets, and you're gonna minimize those regrets by being regimented, by being disciplined, by having a sound thesis that you can stick to and follow. The reality is, when it comes to the Shiba Inu thesis, it certainly wasn't rocket science. It's not. You know, it's like. Even like when you think about any idea in the market, none of the things that we do are rocket science. They're just uncommon. It's uncommon ideas, and it's identification of patterns and having that pattern recognition that has only built up over years. As you said, you know, you either spend decade building up that pattern recognition, or you observe someone who's been in the industry for 10 years who already has that pattern recognition.
Yep.
And so you can expedite your learning. If you read any of these great books from, you know, Robert Greene Mastery, it always talks about, you know, the importance of having a mentor, the importance of having someone who's ahead of you in the path to close the gap faster. Because if you have to learn everything on your own skin, man, you could literally miss out in millions or tens of millions of dollars in opportunity cost. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. A smart man learns from others. A dumb man learns on his own skin all the time. And, you know, I've been a very stubborn individual my whole life, and I've learned everything the hard way. And I'm still here, even though I'm learning the hard way. And that's only a testament because I'm not giving up. I mean, I'm still here every market cycle, every bear market. I'm still here regardless of whatever's happening. And, but you don't have to be me. You don't have to be me. You can learn from Dan. You can have a mentor that can teach you the ways or give you enough of a data set to work on to where you can turn this into something tangible. So, you know, that was my thesis for Shiba Inu. In regards, if it happens again that exact same way, the thing is that we're getting more meme coins and we're getting different dexes. You know, Solana is flourishing now. You have Ethereum, and it's like, but at the same time, we're onboarding new users into crypto. So it's like you're having two variables. One of the variables are that we're having new chains come out, and there's equity. Like I think Solana Dex crossed Ethereum for the first time. That's a historical moment. And I'm pretty sure that trend is going to continue, where we start to get other L1s start to suck up some of the liquidity from Ethereum. Mm-hmm. And like what's going to happen is that like the potential for certain memes to like go like that could be somewhat diminished because of the fact that you don't have only one de facto chain anymore where equity's flying into. You have 2 or 3 or 4 chains. But at the same time, if you can onboard the next 1 billion users into crypto, and you can onboard, you know, if crypto total market cap sees new all-time highs and Bitcoin sees new all-time highs, that's another variable that could increase the potential for these individual meme coins on these specific alts, like Toshi or whatever. So like, I don't think, you know, I'm not sitting here thinking that, you know, this new meme coin will do what Shiba Inu did, but 100x, 1000x, life-changing money for sure. Bonk made life-changing money, guaranteed. You know, yeah. But you know, to think that you're going to have another bag that turns into 400 to 500 mil, that's probably delusional. Unless you have 5% of the supply, 10%. Even if you do that, it's just like, again, don't look for that. Every situation in the future is going to be slightly different, and your thesis is going to have a boundary as to, you know, you might not be able to catch it all. You just want to capture enough to where your life has changed. And so that's the way I view these things. If you ever play in these meme coins, you make life-changing money. For me, the rotation is always back into hard assets. But one last thing I want to say real quick. If somebody swung on me with a bat and knocked me into a coma, and I fell asleep and didn't wake up for like a year or two, I would be better off than my entire portfolio is today, because that sheep bag is still worth like 40 mil. So like, I thought to myself, like, with some of these memes, is it better if you just do nothing forever? Like even in the pits of the recession, and when Bitcoin was like 16K, that bag of sheep was still worth 40 mil. That's like, food for thought there, that like some things you could be so early on, recession or not, it doesn't matter. Like the decision might be better that you never sell ever. And I'm not saying that that's the case for these future meme coins. I'm not saying that that's the case for Bonk. I'm not saying that's the case for Toshi. I'm just saying that that was truly an anomaly of an anomaly. And it's like what was the environment at the time? We had 3% interest rates. Money was falling from the sky. It's like that scenario, again, it will rhyme, but to get that specifically, not sure about that anymore. But there's a lot of lessons to learn from here that everybody can take for Toshi. That is going to be, I think, extremely valuable for a lot of people that hear this. And I hope that anyone who hears this can turn these lessons into a profit. As much as it sucks that I'm the arbiter of that information and it's off the back of my multi-$100 million loss, at least there's a story and some value to add to everybody here. So on that note, I hope that, that was beneficial. What do you think?
That's super beneficial. And I think the key, is definitely like have a thesis. Like if you own something and you know what its potential is and you've mapped it out and you see all the possible future scenarios, when any of those future scenarios that you've sort of planned for play out, you already sort of have mentally accounted for it. Like I told everyone months ago, like Toshi's probably going to go down 80%, might go down 90%, like 70%, 60%. You have to be ready for that. Like if you can't handle that, sell, or like, or just reduce the position size. And then when it happens, it's like, well, I told you guys, we already prepared, we mentally prepared for this. It's not scary anymore. When you already know what's going to happen or could happen, and it does happen, it's really not that scary anymore, right? Because you've mentally been preparing for it. So with SHIB, I think what could have improved it, obviously, like, it was a different market back then. It would have been harder to make a thesis back then on SHIB because this sort of sector was less known. But like, if you just sort of thought to yourself, 1/10 of the market cap of Doge, Ethereum should have its own meme coin because Dogecoin is its own separate, sort of coin. It had really crazy on-chain buying with whales bidding it up to 100 mil. It's retraced 80%. It might be a good entry here I can accumulate a percent of the supply. Like aiming for 1/10 of the market cap. Like, okay, that's what I need. That's what I want to see. That's a scenario. And then you wait for that scenario to play out. Maybe in your mind as well, another thing you do is you think to yourself, who's my exit liquidity? So for me with Toshi, the exit liquidity is people from Coinbase. So if Toshi gets listed on Coinbase, I would be wanting to take significant profits on listing. Now, like you said, with SHIB, it went down and then it went up another 10x. But I think that final 10x where you've already sort of got access to the exit liquidity is a tough 10x to capture. That's where you're sort of breaking your thesis, where it's like, okay, yeah, it went up another 10x, but like, 8 times out of 10, if it gets that Binance listing, it might be towards the end of that rally. Like if you mapped out as well, who's my exit liquidity? Who do I want to sell to? At what point do I know that they've entered this project? Is there an exchange listing? Is it Coinbase hitting #1 on the App Store? If you have, like you said, those data sets and the pattern recognition, then you can be more prepared for it, what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so have we covered everything, do you think, in regards to what you wanted to go over? Have we covered all the points?
I mean, there is more details to the whole story. I mean, I could get into it, but I don't want to extend the call into multiple hours. I think in regards to the bulk of the important data points that I could think about to pass over, if I could talk to myself again when I was at that age, at that time, I would have had this call directly the way it was presented to that older version of me. And at the same time, I mean, there are other details that aren't really that matter too much in regards to data points I was looking at. Like I was looking at crypto total market cap in regards to where my exit was going to be. I knew that the chart would be too volatile. There would be too many parabolas that kept breaking down So I had to use market cap as my exit, and I had to use data points like Coinbase listing, Binance listing, and I had to use altcoin dominance. That was so important to know that, like,